What's up my bro, Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you guys the first episode of this new series I'm going to be starting up, which is underrated cards that are, or potentially could be, Commander staples from certain Magic the Gathering expansions. So pretty much I'm just going to be going over a series of Magic expansions, and this episode it's going to be Shadows over Innistrad, and showing you guys what, in my opinion, the 5 best cards from the set that see not very much or minimum Commander play that I think have the potential to become format staples, or are format staples but just no one uses them. Yeah, that's pretty much it, so without further ado, let's get into the list. First up, I have an honourable mention, which is Pierce of Angle. It's a 3-mana 2/2 human cleric, and it says whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So this can be pretty nice if you have lots of token swarms or stuff entering the battlefield. This can gain you a lot of life. Also helps you utilise infinite ETBs, a nice way like that. Solid, but then if you pay 2 and tap it and sacrifice another creature, which doesn't sound good, but that's not necessarily bad, because often your opponent has really powerful removal or is going to gain control of the creature. Sacrificing it isn't that bad. Sometimes even an upside, because your spell might have another effect and it will fizzle. But, yeah, it's not that bad. Sacrificing a creature is not that bad of a thing in Commander. And then, it flips into this 2/4 that says whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now, effects like this are exceptionally strong. This is essentially a much heftier Zulaport Cutthroat, can be a nice blocker, and can lose them a lot of life if you have lots of things dying. It's not an insane card, but I do think it has a bit of potential and some nice versatility and could potentially see some play. Now we're into the list. Coming in at number 5, I have Weirding Wood. Now, Weirding Wood, it's 2 and a green for an enchantment, and it says enchant land. Enchanted land has tap and 2 mana of any colour. This isn't that good on its own, but it says when it enters, you get to Investigate. Investigate is pretty much, if you guys who don't know, it's make an artifact that's called a clue. You can pay 2 and sack the artifact to draw a card. I think this has so much potential, this card. So you enchant your land, it will now tap for 2. I just think this is really a strictly better Commander sphere. So enchanting your land, having it for 2 of any colour is exceptionally good. Nice colour fixing, ramps you, hard to deal with because it's an enchantment or a land, harder than an artifact normally. And then you get a clue with it, which is, it's like Commander sphere, except the clue, even if the artifact is destroyed, you still have the clue to sack later on, or you don't actually need to sack the artifact to draw the card, unlike Commander sphere. So in my opinion, this is just a better Commander sphere. Yeah, because you can draw instead of your artifact dying when you draw a card, you can keep your ramp and draw the card beforehand as well. It does cost you 2 mana, but you often have spare mana sitting around in Commander. This is an exceptionally strong card, and I definitely think it's worth putting in your green decks over a card like Commander Sphere. Coming in at number 4, we have Epiphany at the Drownyard. Now, Epiphany at the Drownyard is X and blue for an instant that says reveal the top X plus 1 cards of your library, separate them into 2 piles, an opponent chooses one of those piles, and you put it into your hand. The other goes to the bottom of your library. Now, this, in my opinion, is just a stronger Factal Fiction, because it may start off worse rate at first, but number 1, you can play it earlier on, and number 2, you can play it much larger. Later game, you have 9 mana. Bam, you're drawing 4, 5, 6 cards with it. And you can also play a little bit of politics here. Just like with Factal Fiction, you can put, like, say, if you give me this pile here, I won't use any of these on you. And you can make it real political. Like there might be a bunch of removal, because your opponent can see both the piles, and you separate them. You can then make some real deals and go, right, see this removal spell here, if you give me that and this, I won't use any of them on you, so it just benefits you. And you can often actually get tons of value with the political aspect of Commander off this card. Even without it, it's normally, I don't know, it's about the same as Factal Fiction, because it's the opposite effect. It's that instead of them choosing the piles, you choose them, but they don't know what you want. So you might just make it look really balanced, but one pile's just so much more efficient for you, and then they might pick that. I guess it's the same as Factal Fiction, but I do think overall it is just a better Factal Fiction, except it sees nearly 0 Commander play, whereas Factal Fiction is one of the most used blue draw spells. Coming in at number 3, we have Ongoing Investigation. I'm not sure if this card is completely busted, but on its surface, I think it's insane. It's a 3 mana enchantment, and it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create a clue token. Now this is essentially you may pay 2 to draw a card, in effect like Seer's Sundial, but for you guys who don't know, Seer's Sundial is a really good artifact that's 4 mana, and it says whenever you play a land, you may pay 2 of you to draw a card. That's all it says. But Ongoing Investigation, I think, is just essentially a better Seer's Sundial, but for instants and sorceries, which you often have more of than lands. Getting a clue whenever you cast it is really good. It's not quite an immediate draw a card effect, but it's pretty close to it. 2 mana to draw a card that you can do whenever you want is so good. You can just stack it up till you get 3 or 4, then bam, 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 draw tons of cards in a turn. The fact that you're drawing a card off your instant and sorcery once you pay the 2 mana, it is 2 mana, of course, which is a downside, but you can then play more instant or sorceries, and considering all the rampant mana creation in Commander, and you often end up with so much mana, this can just generate you a lot of value. I think it's a great card, keeps it so you can keep playing things constantly, have huge explosive turns, drawing, playing, getting a stash of clues, turns when you run out, you can just sack the clues, draw cards. It makes it so it's exceptionally hard for you to run out of things to do. Very solid card. Coming in at number 2, I reckon this card is very powerful. The top 2 are by far the strongest on this list, is Hermit of the Nattergnals / Lone Wolf of the Nattergnals. Now this is a 3 mana 2/3 human werewolf, and it says whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, draw a card. And then it has the werewolf effect at the beginning of each upkeep. If no spells were cast last turn, it transforms into a 3/5 werewolf that says whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, draw 2 cards, and if a player casts 2 or more spells, it transforms at the next upkeep. This card is incredibly strong. So your opponent goes things like Vidalcan Ori, Counterspell, Cyclonic Rift. Any instant they're not going to want to play out on your turn, or they're severely punished by 1, or if it's flipped, even 2 cards. Counter your stuff, you get to draw a card, or 2 cards, depending on what slide it is. Transforms a bit confusing like that. But, yeah, you get to draw a card, or 2 cards. They try to Cyclonic Rift, well, you most likely want to do it on the end of the player's turn before you, because if they do it on your turn, you get to draw multiple cards. It's exceptionally solid, just gets you so much value, because there is so much instance in Commander. If they have a card like Vidalcan Ori, or, yeah, Vidalcan Ori is the only one I can think of. They really, really don't want to flash things in on your turn. Counter spells, like I said before, they do that. Boom, it's really good value for you. Removal, really good value. It's just an incredibly strong card. Can draw you so many cards off it. And not to mention, a 2/3 / a 3/5, depending. Well, it's kind of, I'll meet in the middle, so it's like a 3/4, I don't know. Is actually not bad. I reckon bodies / creatures as a whole are just underrated in Commander. Yeah, they're not as strong as they are in Standard, or maybe even Modern, but I actually think bodies are underrated. Like a 2/3 can actually get a lot of damage over the course of a game, block a lot of stuff, save you a lot, and a 3/5, that's actually quite a large body that will deal a good hit of damage and block most things. It's not so significant as a game-winning spell or a combo, but it isn't just the fact that it's a creature and vulnerable to removal and has this effect. It's also actually a body on its own. Yeah, it's just actually a lot better than just a 3 mana 0/1, or even a 3 mana enchantment that draws you a card, in my opinion. Even though it may be more vulnerable, the fact that it actually has those stats to it makes it a much stronger card. And coming in at number 1, we have Ulvenwald Mysteries. Now, Ulvenwald Mysteries, this card, I've actually played it in my EDH decks for a long time, and I'm a huge fan. It's similar to Ongoing Investigation. It's a 3 mana enchantment. Well, not really, but it makes you so you kind of never run out of things to do. It's a 3 mana enchantment that says whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. And it says whenever you sacrifice a clue, create a 1/1. Now, I was considering putting Ongoing Investigation in the spot of this card, which is a little, it's another Investigate card, but it didn't actually make the list in the end. But in the end, I looked at this, and I'm just like, this card can just generate so much value. Whenever your stuff dies, you essentially just get a token that later on you can draw a card. So it essentially says whenever a non-token creature you control dies, draw a card eventually. You are going to have to spend that mana, of course, which is just incredible. An effect like that is insane. Yeah, it is the pay 2, but you can do that whenever. They just stay on the field and use it when you need to. And then on top of that, when you sack the clues, you also get 1/1s. And there are definitely other viable clue cards, like I've shown you in this video. There are other clue cards as well, like Fraben Inspector you might be running. So this can often generate you more than just the clues of this card. But even alone, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get a clue, and when you sack it, get a 1/1. So off, kind of just draw a card and create a 1/1. It's incredible. Of course, it's the pay 2, like with ongoing investigation. I may have over-exaggerated it. It's not just the draw card. But clues are actually really solid, and this card just generates so much value for free mana. You're using one of those Golgari graveyard builds, and this just goes boom, gets you so much value. You never run out of things to do with it, just like ongoing investigation. I think it's so strong, and it actually sees a teeny bit of EDH play. According to EDH Rec, it's on like 0.8% of green decks or something, which isn't that bad. Considering, like, that's 1 in 100 decks, but still, I think it should see a lot more play. It sees more play than the other cards on this list, but I think it should see a lot more play. It's actually an EDH staple, a powerhouse, and yeah, I highly recommend you guys try this out in any of your EDH decks. And yeah, guys, that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more from me, make sure to smash that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. But otherwise, I hope to see you next time.